If you have just moved to a new country or you're thinking about moving to a different country, maybe this video will help you.
Hello, hola, it's Yonny and Kayla. Hola, hello from the DR of Buffalo.
Last year I moved to the Dominican Republic to teach. I had been here several times. I visited 3 times before I moved, so I was somewhat familiar with the culture, but not really. After a year of living in the Dominican Republic, I feel like I'm still adjusting to living here and living in a totally different climate, totally different country. So today I just wanted to talk about some of the things that I am adjusting to. Number 1. Mosquitoes are everywhere. In Buffalo, New York, there were no mosquitoes. I do not remember being bit by a mosquito. Maybe like one time every summer I would get bit by a mosquito. And coming here, I am very allergic to mosquitoes. For me, I'm the type of person who wants to prevent things. So in my head, I'm trying to prevent being bitten by a mosquito, but that's pretty much impossible because they're everywhere. Even if I wear bug spray, they still bite me. And it's not really realistic to wear bug spray every 2 hours. Like, I don't think that's good for my skin. I don't think that's good for my body. Even though I do get the non-toxic one, I just feel like that is something that I've had to accept. There are mosquitoes here. I'm going to get bit by mosquitoes. And I think that I'm just getting used to it now, and it doesn't bother me as much. It still kind of bothers me because, like, if a mosquito bites me, I get a giant welt on my body, and it hurts. The second difference I've had to adjust to is the difference in temperature. I am from Buffalo, where I would wear sweatshirts all year. Even in the summer, I was cold. And so coming here, it was not difficult for me to adjust to the heat. I love the temperature in the Dominican Republic. It's December right now, and I wear sweatshirts every single day, and I love it. Also, we don't have air conditioning, so I feel like I don't get as hot when I go outside because our apartment is the same temperature as outside for the most part. And so other people who do have air conditioners, or there are other teachers at the school who get really, really hot. Like, my body just doesn't get hot, but theirs does. And so they're having a harder time with that, adjusting to that. But for me, Mariano and I both are pretty much on the same page. We don't want an air conditioner. We don't have any desire for an air conditioner. We're fine with the temperature. The only thing is that the heat, I'm not used to the heat draining my energy. So I just have to plan my days carefully, because if I have one thing, like if Mariano and I go to Consuelo to visit his family and then come back, I'm done for the whole day. The heat, walking in the heat, being on the motorcycle in the heat, it just drains all my energy, and then I'm done. So I've just learned to plan like one thing per day and not try and do 2 things in the same day. Like if we go to church on Sunday, we are not going to the Capitol also on Sunday. That's going to be a totally different day, a separate trip. The third thing I find myself getting used to is just seeing weapons everywhere. People just walk down the street carrying baseball bats and machetes, giant machetes, huge machetes, but they're just going to work. Some people, they go fishing and they need giant machetes, and sometimes they have to walk down the street and carry it, and they can't like put it anywhere, it's huge. Or they'll have to go on the bus and bring it with them on the bus. And I'm getting used to that. At first, it kind of scared me a little bit. Now that I'm used to it, I'm okay. And also, I feel so safe in the Dominican Republic, walking down the street by myself during the day. I feel safe if I'm with Mariano and we go anywhere. I feel totally safe. There are some places of town where he won't go at night, of course. There are some places, many cities in the US, that I would never go outside at night. I definitely feel more safe here than I ever did in Buffalo or in Rochester. I'm getting used to just how hospitable people are here, And whenever Mariano and I go visit somebody's house or we go to say hi to his neighbors, they will make food for us. They will make a whole meal for us and prepare it for us, and it is always delicious. Number 5, I am getting used to how Dominicans are just one big family. For example, I took the bus. I just got back from Consuelo. Mariano teaches there, and I had to take the bus back, and it was raining, and at every bus stop the bus was completely full. I was sitting in between like 5 people, and at every bus stop they would shout, come on, because it was raining, and there was no room on that bus, but they made room, and they made room for the people who needed a ride even though it was raining. And then the bus started leaking, and the men were literally just holding plastic cups and catching the water so that nobody would get wet. And they gladly did it. They didn't complain about it at all. It was so easy for them to just treat everybody like family. And also, when I went back to Buffalo this past summer to visit, I was on a plane of all Dominicans. I was the only American, and they were all going to New York City. And our plane got rerouted to Philadelphia because there was bad weather or whatever. And so we all had to take a bus together. It was like a 2-hour bus in the middle of the night to the JFK airport in New York City. And they all just treated me like family. They asked where I was from. I told them I live in San Pedro with my husband. And they were just so friendly, so nice. The older man sitting next to me bought me Gatorade because I didn't have any money. And he got me a Gatorade from the gas station. That's something that I've never been around. Buffalo has friendly people. Buffalo is called the city of good neighbors, and they're very friendly. But the Dominican is just like a whole another level of family. People are just truly family. They take care of each other. They help each other. They're there for each other without complaining at all. Number 6 is the unknown. This is something that I'm having a difficult time adjusting to because everything about living here in a relaxed culture, I'm not used to living in a relaxed culture, and there are so many unknowns. So if I want to go from here to Consuelo to visit Mariano and his class that he's teaching, first, I have to get a motoconcho, and if I go outside and I stand on the street, sometimes I have to wait 15 minutes. There have been days when I've had to wait 15 minutes for one to drive by for whatever reason. It was just the time of day, it was hot, maybe it was lunchtime, and everyone was really busy, and no motos drove by for 15 minutes. But then other days, I'll go outside and I'll stand on the street, and before I even get to the street, there's a motoconcho asking if I want to ride. So that's unknown. Like, I don't know how long it's going to take me to find a ride to the bus stop. Then when I get to the bus stop and I get on the bus, I don't know when it's going to leave because sometimes they wait for the next bus to come. Sometimes they'll just wait until they're full, which could be 5 minutes. It could be 25 minutes. I don't know. And there's no schedule. So it's just me sitting on a bus, and we leave when we leave. And I don't know exactly what time I'm going to get there. And then when the man collects the money from the bus, he could ask me for it right away. He could ask me for it in the middle of the ride as the bus is driving. He'll come down the aisle and ask for the money. Or sometimes there is no man who asks for money, and I just have to pay the bus driver when I get off. So I never know when to pay. So I'm just like holding this money the whole time, just waiting. Like, do I pay now? Do I pay now? When do I pay? I don't know when to pay. And just getting used to not knowing when I'm going to do things and when things are going to happen is kind of difficult. And then I'm not used to that. I'm not used to so many unknowns. And it's taken me a really long time to get used to that. I think that's something that I'm still working on, something I still have to get used to, is just not knowing when I'm going to get somewhere exactly, or if I'm going to get there at all, because Mariano and I took the bus one time in San Pedro and we wanted to get to the bus stop, and then in the middle of the route, the bus just stopped and told us to get off. And we were like, wait, what? We didn't know that that was the end of the route because we had been on that bus before and they didn't tell us to get off. They told us we could stay. But that particular bus told us to get off. And we didn't have extra money on that day. So now I know. Like, I just need to be very prepared. Have extra money. Always have extra money. Another thing, I don't know how much people are going to charge me for things because I am an American. And sometimes they'll tell me the price that it actually is. Other times they'll try to get more money just because I'm American and they think that I'm rich. So I never know. And it's just that uncertainty of like, okay, what is the driver going to say? Is he going to demand 100 pesos? Am I going to have to argue with him? Or is he just going to accept the 50 pesos and be on his way? And there's just a lot of unknowns. Every time I travel anywhere or go anywhere, there's a lot of unknowns. I'm learning. Always have extra money on me. Also, always plan extra time. I used to like freak in when I was late to something. I don't know why. I mean, nothing's gonna happen. Nothing bad happens. It's not the end of the world if I'm late to something, but I do not like being late to things. So I'm learning to be okay with being late. Some things I cannot control, and that's okay. The language adjustment. I did learn Spanish. I listened to a lot of Spanish songs. I took Spanish in high school and college. I worked at a bilingual Spanish school for a couple years before I moved here, so I was familiar with Spanish. I had a basis for Spanish, but not Dominican Spanish. Dominican Spanish is not Spanish that I learned. It's very different. And this year, that has been so hard. It has been nearly impossible for me to learn Spanish. One, with the masks. Everyone is wearing a mask and their face is covered. How am I supposed to learn Spanish if I can't see the person's mouth? Number two, there was a curfew and everything was closed very, very early. So we weren't going anywhere. We weren't around people who were speaking Spanish. Number three, my brain does not just absorb Spanish. I'm older and I need to be taught Spanish grammar. And I have not had time to sit down and extensively study the Spanish grammar, which I hope I can do that soon, but I haven't had time to do that yet. Also, I work at a school where it's bilingual and I teach in English. So I was not around people either who were speaking Spanish. All of those things have delayed my progress in learning Spanish. And Mariano says I am learning Spanish. It's just taking a long time and I need to be okay with that because sometimes it's super frustrating when I want to say something to someone and I can't think of the word and the word's not there. And also I'm so thankful that my husband speaks English. That has helped us so much. I don't know what I would do if he didn't speak English. That would be really difficult. More difficult. So much more difficult. I find myself starting to get frustrated by things, but then I'm okay. And I start to get frustrated. Oh my gosh, I totally forgot. Oh, the staring. People stare at me. And I think that it's because I do live in a city where there are not many Americans. So to be fair, when people stare, it's because they genuinely are surprised and shocked to see an American walking down the street or riding by on a motorcycle. And I get that and I understand that, but it still bothers me to have so much attention every time I go somewhere. And I don't know how to get used to that. I don't know how to accept it. I don't know how to be okay with it. And I try to ignore it, and I do ignore it for the most part, but then some people shout. And for a while, for the past year, I could ignore all of the sounds. If I walk down the street, I could like close my ears and just walk down the street and not listen to anything. But for whatever reason, I can't do that anymore. And I hear them shouting. So I can't even ignore it anymore. All I can do is hear it and try not to pay attention to it. But I'm past the point that I can ignore it. And It makes me so uncomfortable. I don't know how to describe how uncomfortable it makes me when people shout and stare at me when I'm just trying to walk down the street and mind my own business. And again, I know they're just curious. I know they don't mean any harm. I know they're not trying to be mean. They're not trying to bother me. They're not trying to make me angry. They're not doing it to be mean. But it still bothers me so much. I don't know how to get used to that other than to avoid just going outside. And I know that's not good. That would not be good if I just hid in my apartment all day long. And I'm very tempted to do that sometimes, but I don't. Sometimes I do just need a break and I just stay at home all day and I relax and I'm okay. So then the next day when I go out, I'm ready. The only thing that we found helps with that is just getting to know people. And once people know us, they don't do that anymore. So if there's a way to make all of San Pedro recognize and know Mariano and I would totally do that. But anyway, being married, I feel like has helped me so much. Mariano has been such a support and he has helped me. I don't know what I would do without him. But yeah, there are good days, there are bad days. On the days that I get frustrated, it's usually because something is bothering me and I'm not dealing with it and processing it. So then things start bothering me. So once I start getting annoyed, I know like there's something that I need to change about my attitude or about my outlook or about my perception, and then I'm okay. All that being said, I absolutely love the Dominican Republic. I do not want to leave. I want to stay here for as long as possible. So that's all. Till next time.